Well, we are finally putting a tonneau cover on our 2025 Ford F-150 Lightning, and we are going to be putting on this nice retractable tonneau cover by ONINE and see how it looks after the install. So stay tuned for this process. Let's see how smooth it goes and see if this is the next tonneau cover for your F-150. Hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Well, welcome to another episode of Tech Motoring. Paul here with another product install / review video. And so for those of you who followed the channel, you know that we've recently picked up this 2025 F-150 Lightning flash trim. And one of the things that I always have to do with a pickup truck is put a tonneau cover on for a couple of reasons. Number one, lockable tonneau covers are extremely useful when you want to store things in the back, especially when you're on a road trip. And of course, if you want to keep water out of it, it's also nice to have a relatively waterproof tonneau cover as well. But of course, in electric pickup truck, this may also help with efficiency. Future video coming on that. But today we're going to be getting this installed. Now this is a retractable tonneau cover that we picked up from ONINE. Now I purchased this myself. I did not reach out to ONINE. They didn't reach out to me. So I just bought this because I thought this was actually a pretty cool looking tonneau cover for the price. And I'll have a link down in the description of the one that I bought, so this way you could take a look at it if you're interested after seeing this video. You could pick it up for yourself, for your F-150 as well. And I believe it's from 2015 to 2025 F-150s with the 5.5-foot bed. Make sure you got the right size and dimensions and the year of your vehicle before you purchase it. And we're gonna get this installed today. So first, I have everything kind of sprawled out on the floor of my garage. So let me show you everything that comes with this, and then we'll kind of go step by step and get it installed. I may not go into extreme depth and detail of the installation. It does come with a manual, of course, but let's at least take a look at everything we get, and then let's get it installed. All right, so once again, our F-150 Lightning here needs a tonneau cover, so we will oblige. And what we have here is our instruction manual for this. Tells you all the stuff that's supposed to come in the box, and of course you have all the instructions of what to do. It actually doesn't look very complicated, looks very simple, and I'm looking forward to getting this installed in the next hour or two. And we have a box full of some aluminum brackets here. They give you a little wrench, which I probably won't use, and just some miscellaneous parts and accessories, including some, what is this, lubrication oil, probably for the retractable tonneau cover, some sealant, most likely for waterproofing, just some rubber grommets here, screws, some hose clamps, just random accoutrements to go with this, some plastic covers, which they call the bracket cover. And then, of course, on the floor here, we have a couple more pieces. So those are the side rails, so they'll go up on the side of the truck here. And then, of course, we have some foam that we'll have to put down as well. We have some hoses. Now, those hoses are actually for water drainage. We'll go into that a little bit. We'll have to see how I feel about that, but I might have to skip part of that. And then we have another piece here, which we're going to get to. And then, of course, the main event, which is the ONINE retractable tonneau cover. So as you can see, it's got this nice handle here. It has a key on it, so you can lock it when you want to keep it secured, keep everything in there. So, you know, from prying hands, basically. And of course, we have the little strap here, which is what you pull on to retract it back and forth. So looks pretty good. The packaging was very, very nice. And it looks like everything came in pretty good shape. So the next thing is, what do we do next on our instructions here? And that is to basically prep the side rails of the truck, the top of the rails. It says with H2O, but I'm probably going to use like an alcohol because it wants you to put this foam padding. So we'll probably use an alcohol to clean off that edge of the truck, put the foam padding down so this way it sticks pretty well. And then, of course, this part is for the drainage. Now, it wants you to drill a hole inside of this little plastic drainage thing. And if you're wondering what those are, it's that right there. So those are like a plastic cover, if you will. And you can actually use those to drain out with the hoses. So I'll think about what I want to do with that. probably at the end. I'm not going to do it right up front. I want you to do this in step 2, but I'll figure that out at the end, and I'll figure out what I want to do about the drainage situation, because I'm not really a big fan of how that is, but we'll see from there in a little bit. Anyway, let's go through step by step here. Once again, probably start with cleaning off the rails, get this foam padding put on there, and then I guess the heavy part comes next. That has to sit on that side of the bed, so we have to get kind of that situated. I don't know if I could do that alone because it is pretty heavy, so yeah, we'll figure that out. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this, and we see we have the side rails that connect into it, blah, 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 some screws and bolts and stuff to hold everything together. Pretty straightforward, nothing really too out of the ordinary. Here's the cover that is on the floor right below me. And yeah, we'll just go through here step by step and see how this process goes. But let's start with prepping those side rails real quick. All right, so as we can see here, we have to put this foam piece along the back of the truck. Now, as you can see, we have these, the bed liner, the actually roll-in bed liner that Ford put on from the factory. And we have to put this foam in on top of this. Now, it does show kind of in this picture here that it's going from like the edge here all the way across, but as you can see, there's a bit of a gap here. So I don't know if we're supposed to put it up here, or supposed to put it down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it the whole length of the truck, and then I can always just trim it up later. I also don't think this is going to stick wonderfully to this because it's, you know, it's rough, it's not smooth. So even though the tonneau cover kind of sits on this, it'll kind of smush it down, which is fine. I just got to be careful. But I did already alcohol all this and all of this, so everything should be cleaned up pretty good. But anyway, let's get that foam on there and see how it looks. All right, well, that answers my question. So it has to go on the inside here, which makes a lot of sense because it wasn't long enough to reach. So this is where you want to put it, right here on the body of the truck. So that is stuck down pretty good right now. And yeah, next step. All right, well, looks like our next step is to take what they refer to the canister, which is the part that actually holds the retractable tonneau cover, and put that on the floor basically so we could put the sides on it. And then once we get the sides on, as you can see, here's a little description: place the side bars on carton box to avoid scratch, kind of like you see right there. Unfortunately, I broke down my side box, so I don't have that. But anyway, we got the canister out, and then those are the sides right there. So we got to get those attached to this and try to keep them somewhat upright off the ground. So maybe I'll just use these foam blocks like so that came off the ends, the caps there. And we'll put the sides on, see what needs to go into that. And then that part's done. That's pretty straightforward. So let's do that and see what we need to do after that. All right, so based off of what I'm reading here is you're supposed to pull out the tonneau cover a little bit. Then you have to get this locked in on a little bit of an angle. So let me show you what that means. So that means we got to pull the tonneau cover out, and then this right here has to go over this right here. You can see it's a little bit of a notch out. Let me get a better angle on that. You can see right there, it's a little notched out, kind of matches the shape of that. That's what we need to aim for. But this is in the way, so we need to retract this out just a little bit, and then we should be able to bring this in on what they're calling like a 10-degree angle, and then it should be able to catch, and then we should be able to slide it back a little bit. So let's give this a shot. I'll try to get as good of a view of it as I can while I do that, and see how this ends up. The other thing you want to do during this process of when you're putting these sidebars on is you have to get this part of the cover into this slot here. So you have to kind of lift this up, and you know, while this is kind of bent out on that 10 degrees that they were telling you, you got to make sure you kind of like lift this up at the same time and slide it into this slot, so this way it could start going along that track. So doing that on both sides is a little tough, but let's give it a shot, see what we can do. And there we go. All right, so you can see here now that the tonneau cover is now in the track. Don't want to move it too much, but it's in the track of the side rails, and it's in that nub there as well. So now that we got that situated, we can now put those bolts in the bottom of it. Okay, so the next step here, after we slide it onto the, what do they call it, the canister,
is we have to put 2 bolts on each side underneath. So this is an underneath view, not on top. So they give you this bag here that has a couple of these wrenches in it and these bolts right here with some washers. And what these have to do is these have to go, and bear with me, it's always kind of a difficult thing to do here, but they have to go right there and right there. So there's 2 on each side. So I guess try to line up the holes as best you can, and then you should be able to get those in. So let's give that a shot, see how that goes. All right, so I kind of want to show this from a perspective here. So you can see I got these blocks on end, so they're a little bit higher. So this side is a little higher than this side. And what we have here is this piece is slid through. That plastic piece went through here. But also, turning around this way, this cover, which had a plastic piece on it as well, is now slid into this track as well. Just in case you need clarification, you kind of have to do that at the same time, which is why they say to bend the back up a little bit and then also kind of bend it out and then in, because you need to kind of line that up and then line that up at the same time. You need to kind of like play with the tonneau cover a little bit, pull it out a little bit, and just kind of shimmy it around till you get it right. But once you get it in the track, and once you get it on that little nubby in the back, you're good to go. And then trying to do that on both sides wasn't too bad. Easier with a friend. All right, well, I'm hoping that was the hardest part of this install. So as you can see, we got those bolts lined up there and there. They were a little difficult to get lined up, but if you just kind of shake this around a little bit, shimmy it around, eventually they would line up, and you just hand tighten them in, and then you follow up with the wrench. But now that we got that done, let's take a look at what's next in our list here of things to do. And that is, okay, to put this cover over the top. So that is the cover that goes over this part of the tonneau cover, which is somewhere over there. So let me go grab that, and then we'll lay that down. And it looks like we got 3 bolts on each side, I would assume. That kind of dresses it up. All right, so what we'll be doing next is using these little plastic pieces with these Phillips-headed screws. So they go through this here, and then we just basically tighten them down with a screwdriver, and then this little cap just folds over and snaps on top of it to finish it off. 6 of those, and you can see them pretty easily right here. 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. This cover goes on with the little rubber thingy in the back, obviously, here. So that would be the back of the truck, I should say. This is the front of the truck closest to the cab, so that's what gets this little rubbery piece right there. I'm not sure if we have to do anything special with that yet, but we'll find out probably in the next step or so. All right, pretty simple. Put the screw through the plastic cap, put the plastic cap on this with the screw going through it and threading into there. I guess if you want to point the plastic cap in a specific direction to make them all look the same, that is your choice. There we go, and then we just close that cap like that. Just snaps down. Perfect. All right, so after you get those screws snapped in there, we're going to go ahead and take a look at these little basically plugs here. So it looks like they just want you to snap those in the back of the rail, which was protruding before. So that right there, you can see there's a little bit of a nubby on one side of these, so I assume that would go towards the bottom like so. And they just want you to push them in just to seal that off a little bit. All right, do the same thing on the other side like so. And there we go. That step's done. All right, this next step is about putting on the drain tubes. I'm skipping this step for now, like I mentioned earlier in the video. I'm going to skip it because I'm not going to do all that stuff yet. If I want to, I will do it later on. And you can see that the tubes are right down here. There's one on each side. There you go. And so with those, you would just use those hoses right there to run that out. Now, if I want to do that later, I will. But right now, I'm just going to not put those on just to see how it is first. And then we'll move on to the next step here, which is drain hose stuff. And now we're to the actual aluminum brackets here. So let's see what we need to do with those and see where they need to go. And we'll go from there. Then it looks like we install the tonneau cover. So we're almost done here. All right. So next are using these aluminum brackets here and this hardware that's in this bag. We just got to do this stuff with it just to prep these brackets, and then the brackets will come into place once we get the tonneau cover onto the truck. So basically to prep these, they just want you to put these together So if you can't put that together like that, just slide it on from above. You have a little bit of a hinge there, basically. And then we just got to slide these bolts in. So 2 bolts. And then everything should be in this bag here. So that should be pretty simple and straightforward. And then we put those all together. I guess there's about 6 of them. Yep, 6 of them. And then we just kind of get that ready for the next step. So let's see how this goes. Would also like to point out that these bolts are different. So you can see H actually has the washers on them already, whereas I does not have any washers. So the bottom one here is the one without the washers, and the top one here, H, is with those washers. So just make sure you get those separated properly, and then put your brackets together. All right, brackets are all put together and just staged for the next part. So I'm just waiting for some help here because we need some help to get this lifted up and into the truck. So that's going to be the next step. Once we get it into the truck, we line it up, and then the little rubber thing on the back of it here is this right here. And this has a little double-sided tape on the end of it. You can see it right there. All we got to do is peel that off, and then this sticks to, you know, basically the back of the bed there, or I should say maybe the front of the bed. So yeah, that'll be after that. And then once we get that stuck, then we have some extra bolts and stuff in here, these right here, which will just slide into the rack and the T-slot. That's what they call those, T-slots. So we'll slide those in, and then we put these brackets in, and then the brackets hold everything through those T-slots, I believe. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Shows a bracket in the front, bracket in the back. Really not complicated at all. Of course, there's 6 brackets. Only shows 4, so maybe we'll just put 6 to have it a little safer. Maybe they come in later on. I don't know. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start that process there. Let's get this onto the truck, and then we'll have our next step. So while I'm waiting for help to come, I was just looking at the drainage situation here, and you can see that there is a little bit of light in between the bed and the side of the truck. So there is some gap. You can see some light there and there. So water will drain out of this naturally. Now the problem is, you know, is it a lot of water that's going to drain out? Not really. It's pretty tight gap there, and you know, that might take a long time for it to drain out. So as you can see here, we do have these covers which we can drill out and put those hoses through. I'm not going to do that stuff right away though, like I was saying before. I want to kind of see what it does as it is. And, you know, maybe if the water drains out of the tonneau cover and then falls down into this area of the bed, that'll be fine. It'll just run kind of out this way and through those, you know, little holes there. That would be fine as well. I'd be okay with that. So we'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime, we're going to get this whole assembly lifted up, put onto the truck, and then we'll just mount it down with a couple of those brackets, and then we're pretty much good to go. I mean, there's just a little bit of alignment, making sure that it retracts properly fine, and then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is not bad. I mean, I would say if you're not videoing this like I am, probably take you, with 2 people, maybe an hour, 1 person, hour and a half, and then, you know, obviously get a second person to help you with the lifting part, because it is a little bit heavy. Anyway, in a few minutes, we'll get this put onto the truck. All right, hard part's done. We got the tonneau cover in here with a little assistance from Kevin, as you may know from some videos. So what we have here now is this little rubber gasket. It has a double-sided 3M tape here. So we just got to peel that backing off and rip it down the length, and then just kind of tuck that against the body of the bed here, and then that should seal that a little bit, and that'll be that. So hard to do this one hand, so I'll put you down for that. All right, so we got the tonneau cover lined up pretty good on both sides. Seems like it's pretty straight. So now what we're going to do is get these little T-bar bolts slid into the groove under here. We'll see how that looks in a second, and then we could put our bracket. So we'll put a bracket in the back, one in the middle, one in the front, obviously. And then we'll have this thing held down pretty well. So let's get one of these bolts in and see what it looks like. All right, so underneath here you could see this slot right here where you could put your T-bolt right there, your T-bolts, and then just slide them where you need to go. So once again, 3 on each side. And then we'll mount the bracket up to this so it holds this against the bed of the truck here. And then those brackets should be pretty self-explanatory. So let's get those on. All right, so we've gone ahead and got it all situated. So I'll kind of give you an idea of what we did here. So what we ended up doing to adjust it properly is we left the brackets a little bit loose. We pulled the tonneau cover all the way out. So let me show you how that works real quick. I'll try to do this one hand. And all right, so once you have the tonneau cover out, you get these little guides, and they come in a little plastic bag. So these little gauges here fit right here, like so. And this shows you the gap that you're supposed to have between this tonneau cover and the side rail here. Same with this side, like that. So as long as these fit in here, you should be good. So what we did is we made sure that those fit, and then we just pulled on this a little bit before we adjusted this nut right here to, you know, hold it down basically in place. Got these all tightened up, and then once we had that lined up, it seems to be pretty good. So we have this line right here. You can see this is coming down just over the edge right here, and on this side basically the same thing, just over the edge right here. And that's pretty straight. I think we're going to get it not much straighter than that. I think that's pretty good. So overall, it's not bad. We still have a little bit of pressure on the sides, I believe, because every once in a while it goes in perfectly fine, but sometimes it gets a little stuck. So let's see what it does this time. So it slows down a little bit before it gets to the end, and then it doesn't quite fully latch in. So we're still going to maybe make some adjustments over time, but for tonight, I think we're done. We're going to probably come back to this this weekend or something. But what I am going to do is I'm going to finish up by putting the covers over these. So it does come with these plastic covers here. There we go. Something like that. Just had some major rain last night, as you can see from the top of the tonneau cover here. Let's look inside. See how it's looking in there. Actually, not too bad. A little bit of wet. You can see there's a little bit of wet because it's coming down the channels that you're supposed to put the hoses through, but overall, looks pretty good. A little bit up here as well. But yeah, overall, not too bad. All right, well, you join us about 2 months after putting the ONINE tonneau cover on the bed of our F-150 Lightning here. Now we're going to do a little bit of a leak test. Now, keep in mind that we did not run those tubes down from the tonneau cover, so this way the water runs out of the bed. We're just going to leave it as it is. If the water leaks into the bed, so be it. Now, we've had a couple of times where we've had some heavy rains, and the bed has actually looked pretty dry afterwards. Not completely dry, but pretty dry. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do some tests, some leak tests with basically just a hose, and try some different pressures and see how well it does. We have some lights here that we're going to use to look at the inside of the bed as this happens. So we got a GoPro set up. Let's give it a shot. Let's get these set up. All right, got our lights set up. GoPro is on. Hopefully that's enough light in there. All right, so I think we should start with a just like a normal rain test, right? So let's do that. Now, of course, I don't know what's happening on the inside of the truck right now, or the inside of the bed. So who knows? It could be getting wet. It may not be. I don't know. We'll look at the GoPro footage together. We got a lot of water pooling up over here just due to the angle of the driveway. So we'll see if maybe this becomes a factor here. Let's get right here by the bed where it seals with the bed here. All right, I think that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and give this
some pressure now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try some harder pressure. We're gonna start on the driver's side and work our way around clockwise here. Go across the front. All right, passenger side, we got a little bit of the pooling right there. All right, now let's hit right here where the tailgate meets the tonneau cover. There's definitely going to be a little bit of leakage there, I can guarantee that. All right, just hit the tonneau cover. None of this should be able to allow water through. Get around the handle here. Ooh, look at that. When I hit the handle, you can see it coming out right there. All right. I don't know what to expect. Let's see what happens here. All right, so we can definitely see some water right here. And you can see it leaking out here. So it's draining off of the tonneau cover here. But there's nothing leaking right here though, inside the bed. That actually looks really good. We're getting a little bit of splash right now. So I see a little bit of water in that back corner there. And I think I see some over there as well. So let's take a look a little closer. Let's open up our tonneau cover. Get rid of that. There we go. That was a good test too. All the water. Oh, you can see where the water's draining out. Okay, so it's still some draining there. And you can see where it's coming through the tubes back there. So it's coming through those drain tubes, as it should. That is the purpose of those. But overall, you can see the bed doesn't look too bad. Let's get you closer here. So yeah, you can see a little bit of water here from, I think, when we opened the tonneau cover. So this, I think, was pretty dry to begin with. And this is all from it pooling up here and then running out. So normally you wouldn't see that unless you're trying to open it while it's, still raining out. So back here, you could see where the tube is. Where obviously it leaked out right here. So this is going to go either, out these little crevices, or it's going to run down the bed here. And you can see the same thing over in this corner. You can actually see that right now where it's running down the bed from where this light was. There's the GoPro. Looks like it caught pretty much everything. You can see there's a little bit of water behind the GoPro, a little bit there from it emptying out through that tube. But overall, the rest of the bed is completely dry other than where I just walked. I mean, I think that's perfectly fine. I'm not looking for 100% waterproof, but I think if you wanted to, putting those hoses down and then out of this back piece here can definitely give you a near 100% waterproof tonneau cover. Of course, once again, this section where it connects the tailgate to, this area, this is always going to be a little bit of a possibility for some leaking. But still, really not bad. It's only about 3 inches or so into the bed, so really not bad. All right, everybody. Well, it has been about 4 months. I can't believe we've had this truck for this long already, but it's been about 4 months since we've gotten the ONINE tonneau cover put onto our 2025 F-150 Lightning. And so what I want to do is take a few minutes with you, kind of go over my experience with having it, just using it, because we've actually used it quite a bit, and we've had absolutely no issues with it. So let's jump into turning you around, taking a look at this from a first-person perspective, and seeing all the things that I like about it and all the things that have been working great, and maybe not perfect things, but well worth its money. I'll say that right now. Considering I've seen tonneau covers $1,200, $1,500, $2,000, this thing being a sub $1,000 tonneau cover, at least at the time that I bought it, I think is fantastic. So let's go ahead and jump
to the other side so you can take a look at this.
All right, so once again, taking a look at the ONINE tonneau cover here for, in this particular situation, a F-150 Lightning. Once again, 5.5 foot bed, so make sure if you're looking at this particular tonneau cover, you look at the one for your truck. But overall, everything's been holding up really well. We got the strap here, which has been really nice to be able to close the tonneau cover and not have to jump into the truck to do so. This mechanism here has been working fine. Amazingly, this rubber cap has survived all this time as well, which is nice because it keeps everything out of the key lock there. And opening the tonneau cover seems to be working pretty well. So once again, we just push this down, and as you can see, it actually went all the way where it locked. Now, it's been a little bit weird occasionally with that mechanism there where it has to lock in order for it to retract back properly. And what I mean by that is if you don't push it all the way, then it won't lock coming back. So for instance, if you wanted to lock there and then all the way back, there's actually supposed to be another locking point. So let's do that again real quick. So I'm going to open it. So it opens all the way, and then there should be one locking point there, a second locking point there, and then the third one would be fully closed. Now what happens is if you don't push it all the way to the end, so let's just say for instance you push it open but it doesn't open all the way, so you can see like right now where it didn't fully open, well now it won't lock into place. See? So you do have to make sure that it gets a full push all the way to the cab of the truck. This way it resets the locking mechanism, so when it comes back it will fully lock into place. So that's one of the things I've noticed, is that you just got to make sure it gets pushed all the way back. Sometimes it stops like an inch or two from the end, you don't realize it, then you start pulling it back and it doesn't lock, and it's a little annoying. But overall it's a small, hassle basically to pay. But I hadn't had any issues with like the actual rolling of the tonneau cover itself. It seems to be very smooth. It doesn't really get stuck at all. This is a lot easier when you have two hands. There we go. The top of the tonneau cover has been extremely sturdy. Like, this is a really nice sturdy tonneau cover. Now I'm not going to stand on it or anything like that. It could probably hold my weight, but I don't know if it would actually possibly bend it or anything like that. So I'm never going to try anything like that, but it definitely is a pretty sturdy tonneau cover. You've seen the video just previous to this of the water. So obviously you have some of the drainage tubes that you're supposed to utilize for those hoses. I still have yet to use those hoses. I don't want to use it because the hoses are just going to get in the way towards the lower side of the bed. And so I didn't bother putting those hoses in. It drains a little bit inside the back of the truck. It's perfectly fine. It dries out pretty quickly, and I haven't really had an issue. Other than that, it's very waterproof for the most part. Obviously, the parts where, right here, where it could get in between the seal and the top of the tailgate, those are probably the worst parts of it, where you get a little bit of water leakage right here along the seam of the bed. But other than that, everything else seems to be pretty waterproof all the way down the whole rail, as far as I could tell. One of the other issues I have come across, and it's not a big deal because it all depends on your truck, so just close this again, is if you have the automatic tailgate. So I've had an issue where when it comes up, it bumps into this and then it folds back down. So just to give you an example, there we go. And oh, see, that time it worked. So every once in a while it will work, but sometimes it will bump this and then it will say, oh, I hit something, and it's going to fold back down automatically. And that does happen occasionally. It opens up perfectly fine, but occasionally I have to manually push it closed just because of that. Let's try that again real quick. Oh, it seems to be working okay now. So maybe these seals have finally started to give a little bit, and it's actually closing as it should now. So that's actually good to see. So in the beginning, it was basically running into this and then saying, "Oop, I hit something." It would fall back down, and then you'd have to come back outside the truck and then push the tailgate closed completely. But other than that, it really hasn't been a problem.
So overall, what are my impressions of the ONINE tonneau cover for the Ford F-150? I think it's great. It's been working great for my particular application. I didn't need like a powered tonneau cover like you see on some of the other higher end trucks like the Rivian or the Cybertruck or anything like that. I didn't need that. I just needed a basic tonneau cover, one that was pretty sturdy, one that was pretty waterproof. Lockable was another thing. I wanted to make sure it was lockable. And since that has a lock mechanism on it, which has been working perfectly fine, and the power tailgate, which is obviously locked if the truck is locked, it's been a perfect solution for my particular application. Really like this. Now keep in mind, ONINE did not send this to me. I didn't get this for free. I bought this with my own money, and I'm glad that I went in this particular route. A sub $1,000 tonneau cover for an F-150 that has these types of features on it and is this sturdy. I think it's great. I really have no issues with it, and I'm looking forward to hopefully many years of using it. Well, anyway, those are my thoughts on the ONINE tonneau cover. If you're interested in this product, I'll have a link down in the description below. You could take a look at it. Make sure you get the one for your right truck, your right bed size, and make sure it's for the proper F-150 and the year and make and model and everything like that. But anyway, I'd like to thank you all for watching this episode. I hope it's helped you out. I'm glad I got this tonneau cover. I think it looks great, and yeah. We'll see what else is in store for the future for the F-150 Lightning. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Remember, welcome to the future. Welcome to Tech Motoring. We'll see you soon.